You got all the hats in there.
Yeah, all the
juggling all
yeah. Full hat trick.
It's a full hat trick.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, totally unrelated, the Stanley Cup just concluded. Basketball is in their championships, which that lasts about 60 days anyway or something. I don't know. You got baseball in its playoffs, and they went to something like the basketball teams do. 16 teams made it or whatever.
Right.
And we've got football going.
Yeah.
So you could just kind of watch.
Oh, and when we get to football playoffs, there'll be an extra team this year. There's an extra team in the playoffs, and only one team in each conference gets a bye instead of two now.
Oh, okay. Well, that seems right. I don't. Is that due to COVID? Because it's not shortened or anything. It's just
That was just when it. Because either is this the year or next year that we go to 17 weeks too? Because they finally or 18 weeks. We get an extra week, another bye week, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and extra teams in the playoffs. You know, they had a new CBA.
Time for the Magic. Learn about sports. No, I didn't realize that.
Hey, one of the Pioneer podcasts I listened to with Ross Merriam and another guy from SCG. The other day they spent like the first 30 minutes talking about basketball, and I was like, I listened to like 5 minutes, and I was like, okay, where's the Pioneer talk?
I'm always saying we need some kind of little anecdote to open up with.
We talked a little sports.
That's not an anecdote, but we could talk about how we just got finished with Chatter the Squirrels, and we ranted pretty good about some stuff that we'll talk about here, but we'll try not to rant. Try to bring you some factual data.
Yep.
At least as seen through the eyes of Mark Rosewater's Tumblr account called Blogatog, which we regurgitate every week for you what we find to be most interesting. And so that's what we're going to get with this week.
Yep.
So this is not Magic related, but Mark does a little bit more than just. Sometimes he'll preach He'll give some life lessons.
Yeah.
So he just said, a quick note to all my American question marks, please make sure you're registered to vote. So I don't know if where you are, you have time still to register. If you're not, but you should be.
In Missouri, here in our state, you got like 5 more days or something. I think I've seen October.
I'm not sure.
6,
I've been registered
8.
to vote for my whole life.
I need to double check that my registration for that. Shirley found Shirley's like registration card and not mine, and I'm like.
So anyway, get registered to vote. Be an informed voter. Learn about all the candidates and vote in all the elections.
All the candidates,
not just the presidential.
All the candidates and all the bills, propositions, anything else that may be up there.
Don't just show up every 4 years and go, I voted for the guy or the gal or the person, and I did my part. No, you need to vote for your local city council, your mayors, your state representatives. You need to have your voice heard all the way through. Check out, all I'm going to say is there are more than 2 parties.
Yes.
In some places. Not in rural Missouri. We're lucky to have a second party on our ballots around here. But, be that as it may, be sure and check out all of them. So, moving into our actual stuff this week.
Yes.
You want to start us off?
Sure. Well, Mark, I know it's a preference, but I dislike sealed limited play, which most people love, but I know there are people that don't. Is there ever going to be a set designed without limited in mind? One with the intent to never play in a limited format setup, but instead just constructed? I also think that the build for limited play is what leads to broken constructed formats. No, the stuff made for limited play is what leads to cards that we'll never see play in constructed. Sorry. Limited play is too big a part of Magic to not have limited play as a part of any Magic design. I'm not sure how limited design has any major impact on constructed formats. The power level of limited is significantly lower. So cards made specifically for limited play seldom show up in constructed formats. The biggest impact I can think of is lower rarity dual lands in multicolor focused sets.
So if you'll notice for the past few weeks, we've had at least one questioner that maybe just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And I think, no offense, I think maybe this person just doesn't get it.
Yeah, sadly, cards, I've heard people gripe that they hate that they have to make the bad cards for limited. I wish all those cards were constructed playable.
Let's put 250 cards in every set that's Euro, Oko, Once Upon a Time, Fires of Invention, hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
All right. Is Flash secondary or tertiary in green? Asking for the werewolves. That is important. Secondary is the answer.
The reason I left this one in is because, and I looked it up, his most recent article I could find does list it as secondary, but they had been moving Flash into black so much, and I hadn't seen a lot of it in green recently.
No, I haven't.
I thought maybe by the time he writes a new article, he only does them every few years because the color pie changes slowly.
Right.
It ebbs and flows a little bit. But black's been getting some Flash. You know, it's usually small creatures.
Right.
Blue gets it and green, but now black is getting it.
I'm going to say most of the stuff, we have a lot of black, blue, multicolored stuff right now. The rogues, there's a lot of flashy rogues and stuff. As an avid EDH lover, can I ask a favor? Can we stop printing cards for EDH? Please?
Please.
Cards like Chulane, Corvold, Golos, Arcane Signet, etc., which are objectively superior for a set color identity, are pushing a lot of the fun and diversity out of the format and the community. It kind of sucks all the fun out of building and playing a deck when there's very little reason to run any other Jund Legend. One of the impacts of the format being popular is we design cards for it. I have passed along the note that many Commander players have communicated to me that they would prefer more novel Commanders and less purely powerful ones.
The ironic part of this is that Commander became popular for one of the facts being that it wasn't designed for.
Yes.
It was a place you could use the cards you wouldn't use anywhere else.
Yes.
You play them. And now we have people saying, well, why don't you use this card? That card sucks. You should be using this because it's better than that.
Right.
But it's a personal choice to build your Commander deck. You put the themes, the things that you want in there.
I think with most Commander play groups are out there, though, you still can, and that's still just fine. Is really what I believe, and I think that's...
Well, I think so, too. And if you're limited in the number of play groups or how your play group works, then I feel for you.
Right, and I think where this... I'm just going to talk on this for just a moment longer. I think who this affects the most, I think it's the new players that get affected the most, because the cards that they can get when they start playing recently are these cards. These are the Commander cards that they get, that this is how they're supposed to build Commander. This is a year of Commander. This is the cards that were printed for them. They're just getting in easy access, so this is what they think Commander should be. More so than... That's where I really think it hits the most.
A lot of the precons will whoop my deck's ass. If I sit at a table with three recent precons and one of my janky fun builds, probably not going to get that far, to be honest. But the shame is they're not getting to play with those older cards because I think they got to use the new stuff.
Right.
And they have to have this certain level. So, if you do have a play group out there, maybe you just take a look at it from time to time and kind of see where you're at.
Always a good idea.
Strixhaven takes place in such a small setting in a school, or is the whole plane a giant school? Strixhaven is the name of the school, not the plane. And we may have covered this a little bit.
I think we had a question on that before once.
I got a couple just to get it pretty clarified. Strixhaven takes place in such a small setting in a school, or is the whole plane a giant school? Strixhaven is the name of the school, not the plane. What plane is it on? A new one or a return? It's a new plane. And then finally, I know we usually don't get much information about a set between its announcement and preview season, but since the first thing we usually find out is the setting of the set, are we going to find out what Strixhaven's plane is called before previews start? Unlikely.
I'm curious now. With it being called Strixhaven, and we know Strixhaven is the name of the school, as weird as this would be, are we going to see an entire set in one building? and the school is the entire set within the school.
Hey,
I mean, I'm just curious. It makes me curious.
Hogwarts is pretty large.
I know. I agree. I know. I just
it's pretty big. I mean, you got the Chamber of Secrets,
right? Room of Requirement. Yeah, I got you.
a lot of them books, you didn't have to leave Hogwarts to have an adventure. You know,
that's fair.
A lot of people think Strixhaven's a lot like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So that's what we're making fun of. I noticed the Planeswalkers of Zendikar Rising represent all 5 colors.
I noticed that as well this time.
Was this on purpose, and is it something we will see more often? Color balance is a big factor in what Planeswalkers we choose. Now, normally when I hear him talking about this, it's what's available in Standard.
Right.
So if they've got, because they kind of have to push, because they only put like 2 or 3 in each set.
Right.
So they kind of push one way and then another and keep trying to balance it. I wouldn't think that every set. I mean, I don't know that we've ever had this happen before. Where all the colors are represented with the Planeswalkers.
Right. I've been actually trying to think back through the last few sets. Like I went back to Eldraine. It was green heavy with Oko and Garruk both being green and something.
Yeah.
Then we had a lot of white and Theros, Elspeth, and Calyx. And I don't believe we've ever had it work out like this before. Usually there's a monocolor and a multicolor that shares that monocolor, it seems.
Think we'll get 5 in Strixhaven so we can have 1 for each school?
I don't know. Although I do want to throw out there the coolest thing I think for Strixhaven. Me and Sky were talking about it one night, and now he's been going on. That's his theory that we're going to see our modal double face because we know we're getting modal double faced.
We know that.
We're going to have a legendary wizard on the front. 5 of them, 1 in each color, and then on the back, a legendary sorcery.
Okay.
I think that'd be a really cool kind of thing.
That could be a thing.
But I don't think we're going to get 5 Planeswalkers, I hope.
Here's another one of them people maybe that don't get it. Why do you not take more risk with your theme boosters? Zendikar has so many cool themes, and yet it is another set with monocolor theme boosters. Theme boosters are about helping less enfranchised players get cards to fill out their deck.
Then why'd you put unique cards in them in Theros? I apologize.
Tested it out. Have they done it since?
No, they haven't, thankfully, but it was just weird.
Why do end the turn spells send cards on the stack to exile instead of the graveyard? Am I misunderstanding the rules, or is it just because it makes better play? And Mero says, I think you are misunderstanding the rules. So I believe where he's off is that it sends spells and effects. It exiles spells and effects. It doesn't exile the card that generated the spell.
Right, because
or the effect.
The spell, once it is there...
It's on the stack. It just exiles them.
There's no other way, mechanically, templating, whatever, to get rid of that effect on the stack other than exiling it.
It exiles it, so it will counter an uncounterable spell if you end the turn.
Yeah, it will.
Because it exiles it, so it'll never happen.
Time-stopping people is still my favorite thing ever. Never forget Chucky going, that's a card? Hi, Mark. Why is 254 your favorite number?
Which it is. It talked about earlier. His email address is like Mayro254 or something.
And Mero says, at a young age, I picked a favorite number. That's what I picked. Seems simple. Seems
254. I don't remember picking a favorite number. I don't remember being asked that in school or by my parents or even a friend. Like, hey, we need to pick favorite numbers. What are we going to tell people 40 years from now? I don't know. I'm just going to tell them
I don't have
a favorite number. I don't know. I'll take Weird Al's, 27 or 42 maybe. I don't know.
All right. Mark, what's really green about Simic philosophically? When I first heard about them in the lead up to Return to Ravnica, I expected something like trying to use fantastical tools to be their authentic self. Instead, it's just blue playing with creatures instead of books. Honestly, can we just make Simic a slightly less silly version of Crossbreed Labs? They have more or less the philosophy I expected from Simic, plus an extra dose on the community focus. Simic's motto is improving on nature. It's a blue investigative quality focused on a green subject. Man, I love that. It's just blue, playing with creatures instead of books.
Maybe another one that doesn't get it. Yeah. I don't know.
Mark, every color can deal with creatures. 3 can deal with artifacts. 3 can deal with lands. Now 3 can deal with enchantments. Why is it then that only blue can deal with instants and sorceries? Even when you guys say that white should have access to the ability. Other colors can interact with them. Black can make you discard them. White and green can fizzle them with protection and hexproof. Red can redirect them. That red one we don't see a lot, near as much as the others.
No.
Black doesn't feel like... Black, you're correct, but to this guy, it doesn't feel the same. I understand. Discarding them out of the hand doesn't feel like stopping them when they get cast.
White can also keep you from playing them with spells like Silence.
Yeah. Yeah, they have...
Silence just keeps them from playing a card.
Yeah.
And I can't think of others, but there are a few others.
There's Deafening Silence where they can only play 1 a turn, and things like that.
Yep.
Mark, is NWO, New World Order, dead? Recent sets have pushed complexity at all rarities, and many of the changes inherent to NWO seem largely eroded. He says we are testing the edges of New World Order, but it's still used.
Go watch Chatter of the Squirrels. We kind of went off on this one just a
little bit.
Just a little bit.
There are... Why is this...
I'll do this one.
Okay, I was about to say, it's underlined. I didn't...
How were the announced sets designed? Top down or bottom up? So, if you're not familiar with top down and bottom up, there are 2 basic ways to do Magic design. There's bottom up, where you do the mechanics first, or top down, you do the flavor first. So Zendikar and Return to Ravnica were designed as bottom up blocks. So they came up with the mechanics. Zendikar was about land,
right?
And Ravnica was, about the guilds and so forth, and they designed it up. Innistrad and Theros were designed as top-down blocks. So, Innistrad was the werewolves and the horror and all that stuff.
The Gothic theme, the Gothic horror
Gothic
theme.
Thor. Theros is about the gods and
Greek mythology
and so forth. Note that choosing mechanics or flavor does not mean the other won't be present or important. It just means that the key decision making will first be focused on one aspect. Now, I gave you that little bit in case you didn't know, so that I could finish up with this, in case you didn't know what it meant. Kaldheim is top down, meaning that the flavor came first. So they came up with the flavor of Kaldheim, Norse, cold, with Ratatoskr. Should be. Strixhaven was bottom up, so meaning they came up with mechanics first. So that means that they used the color pie to work on mechanics and then build them into schools, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Adventures in the Forgotten Realm is top down,
obviously.
so flavor because it's a D&D set.
Right.
And then Innistrad set is top down.
Innistrad
flavor first.
Yeah, I've heard Mark is super proud of Innistrad.
Yeah.
You ever listen to Drive to Work where he talks about these kind of things? Innistrad is his definition of a top-down set. They've never done a better one, is essentially what he'll always say. They nailed it the best with Innistrad.
If green is the color of you already have everything you need, and blue is the color that seeks more knowledge, why does blue get effects that prevent card draw? Because it's blue.
Blue. Yeah.
Because blue is mechanically king of card draw manipulation.
Yeah.
So he says.
I don't know. Should be white. Should really shut down draw. Makes sense.
All right. So we talked a little bit about Innistrad. Has 5 main creature types. So why did you choose werewolves and vampires? And he's this person's talking about next year.
Yeah.
We know there's going to be a vampire set
Right.
and a werewolf set, 2 Innistrad sets in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Don't you think the people who prefer the other 3 or simply do not like vampires or werewolves will skip Magic for those 2 sets and reduce sales? A focus on one creature type doesn't mean the other creature types won't be in the sets.
Right.
And just for your reference, the other 3 of the 5 are zombies, spirits, and humans. And each one of them was like key in like 2 colors.
Yeah.
Okay? And then a follow-up on that question, are vampires and werewolves the 2 most popular Innistrad tribes? Mayro says, all 5 main Innistrad creature types are pretty popular, with humans being the highest and spirits the lowest. Mm-hmm. No, a lot of people don't want to hear that because they don't want, there's some people that don't want more humans, they want non-humans, but humans are still the most resonant.
Yeah.
And we have the most tropes we are human.
Right.
So seeing ourselves in cards should make sense, right? You've gone on record as a fan of alternate win conditions. Poison Posse represent?
Yeah.
Are there any alt wins you've been denied making regardless of border that you can share? So Gleemax's original design, and remember it cost 1 million mana.
Yeah.
Go look it up. I'm not pulling it up here. So its original design was tap, win the game unless an opponent pays you $1. We had to change it. So there's an alt win that he couldn't get printed, even in silver border.
That's Marrow's get-rich-quick scheme right there.
I hadn't heard that one, and that one tickled me. Somebody says, I like that we've been seeing more hybrid recently. Is this a change in design or a swing of the pendulum? It's just us realizing how valuable hybrid is as a mechanic. Something I've known for a while. That's him saying it, not me.
Yeah. Mark Rosewater is very proud of hybrid mana.
And now our last topic of the evening, which will carry us home. And if we can curtail ourselves, since we've already ranted on Chatter of the Squirrels, go watch that, episode 85. Check it out. We did some ranting on some of this stuff. But if you haven't heard the big news this week, we're about to go over.
We're going to get into
There was a banning, so what?
Yeah, nobody really cares.
We're going to talk about some other stuff right now. And it's a secret.
Oh. Mark, with the recent Godzilla tie-in, you introduced a great way of having crossovers with other IPs without compromising the Magic IP. They really did. Is there a rationale for why the same solution was not used for the Walking Dead Secret Lair drop?
If you haven't seen it yet, mechanically unique cards being dropped in Secret Lair, The Walking Dead.
The correct answer is probably because the corporate negotiations did not allow it. But here's what Mark Rosewater tells us. When we have sets where other IP skins line up with that set's themes, that approach is still on the table. That lining up doesn't happen often, though.
Continue.
I just want to express my opinion that this Secret Lair is a very, very dangerous slope to go down. Have you guys not learned from Nalathani Dragon, even more recently Nexus of Fate? Also, these are essentially being printed directly to the reserve list, since WotC won't own the licensing forever, which is something stated when it happened. While the Secret Lair is the one chance to get the Walking Dead versions of these cards, we have the ability to print the Magic versions of these cards in future products. So let's say Negan becomes a popular commander. We can print the Magic version, same card mechanically, but with a Magic name and art, in any number of future products. This is not a case of us being unable to make more of a popularly played card.
Okay.
I've been getting a lot of feedback today, and I'd like to ask the following 2 questions. This is from Mayro, I assume.
Yeah, he asked this question of everybody.
1, would you like to see Magic cards have other Magic have cards with other IPs on them? Yes or no? And 2, if yes, how would you like us to do them?
Now, I didn't print any of these out, but I read many of the many comments.
Oh, I bet.
Primarily, and this is just me anecdotally telling you, but primarily there was an overwhelming consensus that the two methods they've used previously, one, the Godzilla skins that we just talked about, and two, silver bordered, were the primary means that people wanted. Many people were dissatisfied, unhappy with this secret lair.
Yes.
And they thought either one of those should have, could have been done.
I've heard people...
And I seen this just post after... I think there were hundreds of them. But there were a bunch. And I read through several, and it's just... there was probably one or two in there that said, do what you want, it's cool by me. But most of them wanted one of the previously used ways to be done. Like My Little Ponies, the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons, Transformers, the Nerf War gun or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, those kinds of things.
The other thing I've seen bandied about, which hasn't been used in 20 years, but I've seen people say about even gold borders instead of silver borders, if they're too stigmatized, even gold borders, just anything to denote a difference. Hi, Mark. Saw you didn't post yesterday. I hope you're just taking a breather from social media. I don't blame you. And that you're doing well. This actually got posted to Reddit. Somebody posted this comment and his reply because people were like, Mayro hasn't talked in a while.
Yeah, we have a short episode. We're trying to pad it up.
Right. When a lot of people have things to say, I tend to use the day to do a lot of reading. A big part of two-way communication is listening.
Hey, all y'all, that's just in life.
Yeah, that's a piece of life advice.
That's a piece of life. If you're always talking or waiting until you can talk again, that's not communication.
Right. Yeah, there was a lot of people on Reddit that were actually like concerned for Mayro, and Mayro has the love of like all Magic players because no one's upset at him about this really. From the consensus I can see online, there's a lot of people that kind of feel bad he gets stuck in the position of having to
toe the company line and be the spokesman.
Because I'm pretty sure...
But he is trying to figure out what people want. That's why he asks those questions.
I'm pretty sure Mayro probably had absolutely nothing to do with those Walking Dead Secret Lair cards. You know? It's not on his shoulders, but he is the face of the company.
Couple more here.
Hey, Mark. What was the thought behind creating new cards for the Walking Dead Secret Lair instead of creating altered Walking Dead themed versions of cards that already exist? We wanted to create top-down designs that specifically captured the characters, so that fans of the show could see characters they know optimally expressed as Magic cards. I can even get that answer, to be honest, but just, once again, the way they did it. Even saying you can't say anything about it right now is miles better than ignoring the issue. When players are unhappy, it's my job to understand that unhappiness and convey the nuance of it back to Wizards. Me understanding things is far more important at times like this than me saying things, which I can absolutely agree. And this makes me question, because this is something everybody online was talking about the other day. And he says here, when players are unhappy, it's my job to understand that unhappiness and convey the nuance of it back to Wizards.
Because he's the public face.
He is the public face, and he does Reblogatog, he does all these things, but is that actually, is that part of his job description now? Has that ever been officially, he's head designer is all officially he is?
I don't know.
Right?
I hope he gets a little something extra in the paycheck for all this. I hope so.
I really hope so. That was a big conversation that happened because is it actually his job? We know Mayro loves Magic. That's why he does all this. That's why he interacts with us the way he does. But is it actually his job? I'm curious sometimes because it's got to be hard.
So we're going to break something we normally don't do, but we happened to notice this.
Yeah.
Just before we went live with Chatter earlier. And that is earlier, and I haven't watched the stream yet, but on the Magic stream today, they talked about the secret lairs. Mayro has taken his thoughts, added it to what they put on the stream, and we actually have answers to a lot of those questions that were just asked. So I'm just going to go through that real quick. I've gotten a number of design-oriented questions over the last few days about the Walking Dead cards that just got answered on the stream. But as I know not everyone was able to see the stream, I thought I'd repeat the answers here, adding a little of my perspective, meaning his perspective.
Right.
Why aren't these cards silver bordered? Silver border means two things. One, it's not tournament legal, and two, it doesn't do things we can do in black border, at least at the time of us printing the cards. Magic evolves over time, so silver border things can later get promoted into black border, and we've seen that happen. Right. The Cheese Stands Alone basically got reprinted as, oh gosh, there's a white enchantment, I can't think of it now. But anyway, we've seen that. That's where full art lands came from. Tokens.
Yep.
There's been a lot of stuff that kind of went through there. We wanted these cards to be top-down designs of the Walking Dead characters that functioned like more normal black-bordered cards. In addition, there's one other issue, one that really bothers me, to be honest. Silver-bordered cards are treated by some Magic players as being less than black-bordered cards and thus have a stigma to them. Some players refuse to play with players that have silver-bordered cards in their deck. We didn't want players thinking these cards were something they couldn't play with. Why don't these cards use the Godzilla alternate skin technology? They kind of do, but not in the way we did them in Ikoria. That exact execution wasn't a good fit for the product. Unlike the Godzilla cards that were distributed inside of booster packs, along with the rest of Ikoria, the Walking Dead cards are sold by themselves. That meant we wanted them to maximize their appeal as a box set. Putting extra names on them was aesthetically unattractive. That said, we did build in a way to do backwards version of the Godzilla skins. If needed, we can print a Magic IP version of these cards with a Magic name and creative concept art. We wanted to make sure that these cards were reprintable if needed. Won't that mean that players who own the Walking Dead cards can now play both versions in their deck? No, it does not. The cards, in Oracle, would identify that they represent the same card and would be treated by deck building rules as if they were the same. Think of them as functioning identically to the Godzilla skins. Are these characters now canon in Magic's story? No, they are not. The frames and triangle watermark specifically denote that they are not canon to the Magic universe. I will note that there are other cards with black borders from the alternate reality of Plane Shift that are also not canon. So going backwards on these, I didn't know that there were non-canon cards in Plane Shift.
I did not either.
I wasn't really following the story back then. But
that was news to me.
But this has been a thing. Lots of things I had read about how are these. This totally takes me out of my fantasy realm by putting these television fantasy characters into my Magic realm.
To make it even further on that, because I can kind of get their point in a little bit. The art on these cards is just like a digitized photo of the actors off the show. Even it doesn't really look like art much. It is. That's Jeffrey Dean Morgan on the Negan card, you know?
Yeah, I know. They do have artists on them, though, so I don't know if they were just done portrait style or what, but they do look almost a photographic quality.
Yeah.
So, like I said, knowing they're not canon, this is opening up a large can of worms in a lot of ways here. Not being able to play both versions. You know, sure. But I will bet you that most Commander players don't look at Oracle.
No.
And if they have a card that says Negan does this, and they have another card that says Bobo the killer of things does the exact same thing, they're just going to put them both in their Commander deck and go.
Yeah.
And most play groups may still be all right with that. I don't know.
Yeah, it
is a line that you're crossing that should not have been crossed. That's my opinion.
Right.
This is a line.
I agree.
This is a line that should not have been crossed. These should say Negan, and there should be another name under there.
Yeah.
or silver bordered.
I feel just. I'm almost a little upset at Mero here. I know he has to say what he has to say, but no, they do not in any way use the alternate skin technology of Godzilla cards. They kind of do, but no, they don't. There's not another box saying it.
Yeah, there's not another.
That is the technology.
There's not a true name and then a Negan name or a Daryl name.
That is the entire technology. If that's not there, you're not using it. Is my big thing that really pushes me on that one. Because I want to bring up what really would have been so easy to do. If they had done it with the Godzilla alternate skin thing, we have Innistrad coming up at the end of next year. All of these could probably fit as creatures, legendaries, or whatever, straight into Innistrad, because you have zombies, you have the horror themes. They probably could have got those out within the next year if they put them all in Innistrad, where it mechanically fits, but once again, not what they chose to do.
Be sure and give credit where credit's due. That's not your original thought, right?
Oh, is that also on...
That's Evan Irwin.
That's Evan, yeah.
On Magic Mike's.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's give credit there. I'm not saying you didn't have it, but we both watched.
Yeah, we did.
We both watched it, so let's give credit where credit's due.
You're correct there, but that would make so much sense. It would tie in very well.
Okay, so in speaking to this, I think the reason is this was made to be a collectible for Walking Dead fans.
Yeah.
It's also a collectible for Magic fans, who are also Walking Dead fans.
There's a large overlap.
There's a crossover.
Yeah.
It is going to be used on a Talking Dead when they debut a new Walking Dead show.
Right.
And it may help bring new players into the community. It's definitely going to get exposure for the game on a very popular television program. So it's going to put new eyes on the game. But I just feel like there had to be another way we could have done this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I still feel like we've crossed a line that we can't go back from.
My biggest fear, like, I thought at first, you know what, maybe we're going to see when they print the other versions that they say they can print, maybe they'll have the Godzilla treatment where it says Negan down underneath there. But since these are licensed, do they have the copyright to Negan the Cold-Blooded because it's a legendary creature-like name? Or is
I don't know. That's still...
Right.
Not easy to see. Now, you were talking on chatter about, and I heard it referenced, this is probably came about because of
a purchase.
Hasbro.
I believe it was Hasbro. There was a large purchase of Entertainment One, which was a large company that may be where they got Peppa the Pig from, and that big purchase, you remember that had a lot of stuff in it, like Death Row Records was in there as well.
Okay.
Oddly, then Peppa the Pig was the big one they thought Hasbro bought it for, but they may be actually the ones that holds like the licensing with The Walking Dead, I believe. They have I don't know exactly how it works, but I believe Entertainment One, and that is why Walking Dead came about, why it was one of the first, other than the Godzilla thing, because Hasbro has availability to that license because of this purchase. However it works, I don't know the very inner workings.
Yeah. Be that as it may, we have definitely crossed the line making mechanically unique cards for Secret Lairs. We are directly bypassing LGSs at this point.
They just told us they were no longer going to do buy-a-box promos as mechanically unique cards because it made people upset. Players didn't like that.
And then they Secret Lair drop.
Mechanically
unique, yes.
So it's hard to know what's going on.
Yeah. Watch Chatter the Squirrels 85. We really rant on this a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. It deserves it, though.
I really think any lines that have been drawn have been erased. I don't believe there are any lines anymore. I believe that we're not coloring outside the lines because there are no lines.
Yeah.
Or WotC is not coloring outside the lines because they've removed the lines. At this point, I don't believe I would be shocked at anything they tell me. Any announcements they make, I don't believe I can be shocked at this point. I have now been shock-proofed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be amazed if they tell me that Standard is done and they're just printing sets. I'm not going to be amazed if I'm just not going to be. I'm not going to be amazed at pretty much anything at this point.
You've seen the talk, and obviously there always no. But I mean, at this point, what's much of the point of the reserved list? I mean, they've just proven that the lines, like you said, do not exist. Was that the last line? You think it's just they're throwing caution to the wind at this point? They don't. You think that wall comes down pretty soon?
I don't know about soon. I really don't know. I don't think there's any reason the reserved list wall can't come down.
Right.
I've been on that side. I've been on that side for years.
I know. I'm just saying
those cards will hold their collectability as long as Magic's
the ones
viable.
worth holding any value.
Yeah, the ones that aren't, it's not going to matter.
Right.
Okay. But I believe Black Lotus, dual lands, things of that nature are going to hold their value because of their collectible nature. There may be other cards, I don't know, things like Gilded Drake or something, you know.
Yeah.
That might lose its value once it was available, but the alpha beta stuff, that's going to hold. And I don't think there's a problem. I don't think would be a lawsuit. And we're probably getting pretty far off topic for a Reblogatog.
That's fair. You brought up the lines, and I wondered. I've seen some other people bringing about like, why don't is this the sign that they're done? That the reserved list is gone soon because they've proven they'll cross every line.
I don't know. But that is the end of what we have this week. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully we got you to thinking a little bit. Hopefully we entertained for a little bit.
We try to do that every week.
And we will be back next week with another episode. But we will be taking a 1-week break after episode 31 as we'll be on vacation. So there will be no episode the week of the 15th.
Yep.
The 14th through the 17th, there won't be an episode.
The week after that, we'll try to hit the greatest hits of 2 weeks.
It'll probably be the biggest news week of the year. That's probably when they drop the reserve list and decide.
Show us our foil Black Lotuses.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, until next time, we appreciate y'all. And, hey, play some Magic because it's a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining us, guys.